Welcome, everyone, to the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. My name's Abby Payne, your co-host, and we're excited to have conversations around what it means to be a modern woman, reconnecting with our sacred work as feminine beings, rebalancing the masculine, feminine energies.
I love it. I'm Chelsea Henderson, your other co-host, and thank you so much for joining us for our messy, informal conversations where we just explore all that is so important to us and what we think is important for the world. Thank you and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode
Hello.
of the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. We are so excited today to be joined by a fellow nurse, fellow holistic healer, Britt Vanderhoof, who is the founder of the Ayurvedic Nurse. She is a registered nurse and an Ayurvedic practitioner, which is a form of Eastern medicine often described as the sister medicine or sister science of yoga. Britt is currently completing her training as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. She works with women in perimenopause, helping them navigate the transition through simple, sustainable diet and lifestyle practices. She's also passionate about empowering people to take charge of their health, and she believes healing is more effective and a lot more fun in community. I love that. Britt also hosts engaging workshops, and we are going to be co-hosting an online event with her in a future date, which we will release soon, about Ayurvedic healing and perimenopause for women. So we are so excited to have you, Britt. Thank you for being on the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
We're so glad you're here. Can I dive right in before? I really want you to talk all about Ayurveda, your whole approach. I just want to soak it all up. But really quickly, before we jump into that, just this new path that you're on with the psychiatric nurse practitioner. It's a nurse. Will you be a nurse practitioner still? And okay. So then what drew you on that path? And is there a connection to the Ayurveda still? Because I feel like the holistic and the mental health, we're starting to see so much more connection there than Western medicine maybe gave before. So I just wanted to quickly kind of ask your thoughts on that. I'm curious.
Yeah, so as I've been working with women in perimenopause and kind of the midlife time, I found there's so much that goes on mentally and emotionally with women. And we become more sensitive to these kind of things. And I found a lot of women need extra support in there. And from an Ayurvedic standpoint, a lot of the issues that are coming up are actually tied to the nervous system. Like hot flashes are tied to the nervous system, insomnia and irritability, anxiety, depression. A lot of these actually have roots in mental health. And some women might need a little extra support during this time or a lot.
Or a lot, depending.
That is, yes, that's kind of what I thought you were going to say, but I wasn't sure if there was another purpose there for you. And I think I'm so grateful for Western medicine. I mean, y'all are nurses, right? If the immediate urgent care thing is just incredible, what has been figured out in Western medicine. And as a recipient of Western medicine my whole life, I do feel like the Eastern medicine that I've been lucky enough to benefit from, that holistic, it really is all parts come together to create a really beautiful whole. So I just love that you're focusing on that. And I love that you're starting to look at mental health in women, because it just feels like, yet again, a place where we kind of fall off. Like we just don't seem to matter as much in that. And it's so, so prevalent, relevant, important. I just love that. So I just wanted to speak to that right away. And then we can dive into your whole thing. I just want to hear you talk about Ayurveda. I don't know, Abby, What do you think? Maybe you could start by just telling us how you got into it and how you started to kind of develop your practice.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm excited to hear all about Ayurveda. And I know we had a little short introduction call before recording this today a few weeks ago. And I said in there, I don't know much about Ayurveda. I'm very much like, talk to me like you're going to talk to our whole audience potentially of what is Ayurveda and how'd you get into it and your path with it, your story. Maybe start at the beginning, wherever feels right for you, of how you got on this journey.
Yeah, so I've known since I was in elementary that I wanted to be a nurse when I grew up, and I knew I wanted to help women. I actually have a picture I drew in second grade of me helping women as a nurse.
Wow.
And I
That's
went
amazing.
on event, at one point I decided I wanted to be a doctor, so I went on that route and I got burned out. And I took a summer off to really think about what I wanted to do, and I went back to nursing school. And then soon, it was literally the day I graduated nursing school, I had a book on Eastern medicine that I started.
What?
And during nursing
Amazing.
school, I got burned out in nursing school as well. And it was just so stressful. I found myself at one point on an anxiety med and an antidepressant. And then there was one point where I had clinical rotations. I had 2 in a row where I'd have to go to a clinical 7 a.m. till 7 p.m., go home and type up a 10 to 15 page care plan, turn it in the next morning at 6:45, do another rotation from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., go home and type up another care plan. And then
Oh
I
my
had class
God.
the next day and I couldn't
Whoa.
stay awake. So my doctor gave me a stimulant that kept me up for 3 days. And
Oh
I
my
focused,
gosh.
I got stuff done. But I was not sleeping. And sleep is when our body repairs itself and refreshes itself. And then I couldn't sleep. So my doctor put me on a sleeping pill, and I was just a mess by the end of that semester. And it got so bad that I ended up seeing a counselor, and she is the one who introduced me to meditation. And at first, I remember rolling my eyes like, okay, I'm just going to sit there and meditation is going to heal me. And she suggested yoga. And I remember I had a gym membership at the time, and I would see the yoga classes. And I was into like Zumba and high fit and weight training. And I thought, laying on a mat is going to help me.
Yeah. You're telling me to do less?
Yeah,
What are you,
right.
crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
But I did it. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And within a week of doing some meditation and yoga, I started to feel better. And I started out with some guided meditations. I went to my local library, and there used to be these things called CDs that you could put into a Discman and put headphones on and listen
History
to
lesson.
it. So I got these just guided meditations, and they were more of like guided relaxations. And I started doing those every day for about 20 to 30 minutes, doing yoga, and my nervous system started to calm down, and I started to sleep better. And that was one of my first introductions to Eastern medicine, because yoga comes from the East, meditation comes from the East.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I think it was in 2018, I took a yoga teacher training. And before the class started, we were supposed to set an intention. And I sat and meditated on it, and all I could see was these stepping stones. And I saw yoga as a stepping stone to something else, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And I had forgotten that I had written down this intention, and we opened them up on the last day of class. And by the last day of this yoga teacher training, I had found Ayurveda, or Ayurveda found me.
Wow.
We had
Amazing.
learned about the Vedas while studying yoga, and the Vedas are the ancient texts that yoga and Ayurveda are based on. And when I heard the word Veda, I felt this like spiritual lightning bolt go through my body. It's kind of like the chills, but like 10 times more intense. I was like, what
Yeah.
are these Vedas? And I just went down a rabbit hole on the Vedas. It led me to Ayurveda. And the more I learned about Ayurveda, I learned like, oh my gosh, it encompasses so many things I had been studying, and it ties them together in a beautiful way. It's like meditation and yoga and diet and lifestyle and sleep and just all these beautiful things that I had been studying, bits and pieces, and Ayurveda just brought them together so beautifully.
Wow.
And the more I studied it, the more I fell in love with it. And like as a nurse, even if you watch TV and you watch advertisements for pharmaceuticals, they say, along with diet and lifestyle, This medication can help you.
Mm-hmm.
And how many doctors tell you about the diet and lifestyle?
None.
Right.
Very few. Or they mention it in a little bleep. That's it. That's all you get.
So that's kind of how I got into it.
That's incredible.
So then with your nursing background, did you feel that kind of like, oh, this is another important part of the whole here, right? Like the nursing, just even with you talking about that pharmaceutical kind of spiral that you ended up on, that so many people in Western cultures end up on, right? It's so symptom based. It's just, okay, you have this the symptom, we have this pill, which, oh, by the way, causes other symptoms. So then we have another pill, right? And so when you're finding something like Ayurveda, did you feel that kind of almost like a puzzle piece clicking in of like, okay, yes, like here's another big part of this whole picture? And did you kind of feel this practice just kind of emanating from there? Or did you feel like, I never want to look at nursing again, I'm going whole Ayurveda? Like, what was your instinct around it?
I think the Eastern medicine is slowly coming into Western medicine.
Love that.
Like we can see with yoga, it's so much more popular these days than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think people are way more aware of diet and lifestyle. And almost every pharmaceutical is meant to be integrated with diet and lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I know, like with the Health and Human Services, is starting to recommend that medical schools study nutrition because it is so important.
What a thought. For anyone who doesn't know, modern doctors, physicians, MDs, they have between a 1 to 3 credit hour class on human nutrition. That is it. Just as much as nurses. I took human nutrition as a prerequisite to get into nursing school, and that's the same nutrition class that physicians take. So your doctor is not an expert in nutrition and how you should be eating, particularly for women as they are in perimenopause. Women probably all through the life cycle. Just because they have the MD after their name doesn't mean that they know how to eat, what to eat, and all of that. So it is really good to work with someone who is educated on that. And doctors, that should be a whole semester class. That should be multiple classes on nutrition.
Yeah. And I will say doctors study medicine. They practice like pharmaceuticals and disease. I don't know how much wellness they actually study and diet and lifestyle.
That is so
That's a good
key.
point.
What you just said feels really important.
Yeah. And same with nurses. I don't remember having much training on wellness and diet and lifestyle. We studied pharmacology and pathophysiology, all things having to do with disease and pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so true.
Okay, so Britt, can you speak to your personal experience then? Like how this landed? Because you, in our pre-call, you told us a little bit about this, and it really kind of got me wanting to know more of like, just once you started practicing this on your own body, how much more inspired you were and the experience you had. Could you share that with us again?
Yeah, one of my first introductions to it was through an Ayurvedic cleanse. And it's like kind of like a detox where you're doing a little bit of fasting. And then you eat something called khichdi, which is made up of basmati rice, moong dal, which is a lentil, fresh ginger, and then some herbs that are they're very nourishing to the gut. There's cumin, coriander, fennel, and then turmeric. And then we add a little ghee, and that just has a good way of gently detoxing the gut. And ghee is so pure that if you guys are familiar with osmosis, where if there's a high concentration of something on one side of a barrier and then a low concentration on the other, the low concentration will suck stuff out of the high concentration. So ghee kind of does that with our fat cells. A lot of toxins are actually stored in the fat. So when we have ghee, it's gently pulling stuff out of those fat cells. And I did a 28-day cleanse. And by the end of that cleanse, I had lost weight. I could think more clear than I ever had that I can remember. And there was one day I couldn't stop crying. And it was
Wow.
just like, I think years of tears that had been held up. And
Wow.
thought it was like, these are coming out. And Ayurveda believes that tears can be toxic when they're held in. And I loved when I learned that.
Wow. That's
Because
wow.
think how many times we try and hold back tears when really we need that emotional release. It's part of the healing
Yes.
process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if you don't let that energy out, it gets stored in the cells of your body. And
Right.
I mean, even Body Keeps the Score, that book becoming popularized in the last, 5 years,
Yeah.
is reaffirming what practices like Ayurveda and acupuncture have known for thousands of years, is that if you hold on to emotions and trauma, they get stored somewhere in your body.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So see, that's some Eastern medicine as well. And the body
Yeah.
keeps the score because Eastern medicine does recognize that.
Yeah.
Emotions
Yeah.
are stored in the body unless we process them.
Yeah.
That Eastern medicine has so much knowledge that Western medicine is just catching up to. Isn't that just so Western too, to think that we have all the answers and then to realize that there have been people who have figured this stuff out for thousands of years. Um, I mean, the more I learn about Eastern medicine and the Western medicine that's catching up to, it's like, oh yeah, just because we didn't know how it was working doesn't mean it wasn't working. Now we're having the science behind it, which our Western
Mm.
brains seem to need. Some of us go, oh, you mean okay. Turmeric's anti-inflammatory. Is now that I can put
Right.
anti-inflammatory, put that label on it, now I'll take it. And it's like, yeah, well, there's also just beautiful mysteries to healing that we don't know how they work yet. And they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're kind of like little arrogant infants, you know. We just don't know that much, but we're really, really strong egos about what we do know. And listen, in some cases it's brilliant, right? I mean, we do surgery on babies in utero, and like that's amazing, right? And also we miss key things like this, like crying is actually a function of detoxing the body.
Oh,
The whole boys don't cry thing might be making us all kind of sick. Like it's just yeah, that is wild. That's wild. So then when you were experiencing this cleanse and you were kind of did you feel like, okay, like I'm going to make this my lifestyle? Like I always think about that with cleanses. Like I've done a few before and then I get to the end and I'm like, okay, that was a great benefit, but now I feel like I don't know how to kind of bridge this back into my everyday life. Like what was that like for you when you kind of got to the end of that experience and then clearly you kept it up? Like what was your bridge then from the cleanse into an everyday living with Ayurveda?
So after the cleanse and experiencing, directly experiencing the benefits of Ayurveda, that's when I went to school to start to study it. I was
Mm,
like, whatever happened to my body, like
mm.
I felt so amazing. It's like, I need to study this and learn
Yes.
about this.
Yes.
And I still do
Love.
like a mini cleanse. So Ayurveda recommends like a spring cleanse and a fall cleanse. And I still do that. I just do it for a couple days, but it's something I'm continuing to do. And if you think about it, we do oil changes on our car every, maybe a couple times a year, and it's changing
Yeah.
up the oil. And that's kind of what this mini cleanse is doing, especially when you add the ghee. It's changing out the oils and the fats in the body and just gently detoxing it.
I love that.
wow.
That's a great comparison.
And it's a nice tune up, and it's a beautiful form of self-care. Because I'm very intentional with taking time off and resting and really just nourishing my body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
I love
So when
that.
you're doing these cleanses, what did you call the food that you're eating?
Kitchery.
Kitchery. Is
Uh-huh.
that the only thing that you eat for like the 3 days, the 28 days? That's the only thing you consume?
That, and I might add a few vegetables in there as well.
Yeah.
Cooked
Wow.
vegetables. Like, depends on the season. In the spring, like right now, I've been doing some peas and spinach and arugula, just stuff that's local and growing right now. And then in the fall, I'll do more root vegetables like sweet potatoes and zucchinis and squash and
Nice.
carrots.
So
Yeah.
it's that intuitive eating of like, what's nature providing for me right now as well, right? That kind of
Yep.
syncing up with nature. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So then did you know instantly, like, I'm going to start offering this to other women? Like sometimes when you have that experience, you're just like, oh, okay, I want this to be an offering. Like this was so magical. Was that kind of your experience of just like, I'm doing this work, I'm sharing this with any
Yep.
woman who will listen?
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
I love it.
I love it. Okay, so
Yeah.
then can you talk us through what that looks like when you work with women? Like I love all Eastern. Since I was a child, I've gotten acupuncture. I'm married to a man who grew up in the Hare Krishna community, culture, religion. So there's some Ayurveda that sneaks into my life that way. I did a yoga teacher training in my 20s. For me, it was also a stepping stone. I didn't have that beautiful meditative clarity that you had, but I just knew I needed to kind of walk into this world, and whatever happened after that would happen. But I never, in typical me style, I kind of just skipped along, and I like to take little bits of everything, but I never fully got all of it. So I'm so curious how you work with your clients and what that looks like for these different women. Is it the same for everyone? Is it different? Like, what do you feel?
Well, that's such a good question. And I love that you have some experience, because I think some of what I'm going to share, you're going to be like, yes. So Ayurveda, let me back up. When I was in nursing school, I had to like memorize a bunch of stuff, and the learning was like reading and memorizing, and it was very intensive, like mentally. But when I studied Ayurveda, it was very intuitive. Like, I know this stuff already.
I love
And
that.
it's just like I'm remembering it. My soul already knows this stuff. And when I started sharing that with other people, they were like, some of the students I was studying with, they're like, me too. Like somewhere deep in
Wow.
my spirit, I have already known this. And a lot of the principles of Ayurveda can be found all over the world in other indigenous medicine traditions.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just very intuitive. Like once you hear it, you're like, oh, this makes sense. I get it. And like a big part of Ayurveda is circadian rhythm, being in tune with nature, going to bed when the sun goes down, waking up when the sun comes up. And we have so much science around the circadian rhythm, which is something Ayurveda has been teaching about for so long.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, I like to use squirrels as an example, because when I wake up in the morning, they are out and about running. And as the sun goes down, like they are curled up in their little nest someplace sleeping.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't see squirrels
true.
out and about at 1 a.m. up and, hanging out with
Absolutely.
other squirrels.
That's awesome. I love that.
And the other thing I love about Ayurveda is it recognizes different body types. And with this, I like to give the example of diet. Like some people might actually do really well on a keto diet with heavier meats and cheeses and oils and fats. And for other people, it might destroy their gut and they might gain weight and not feel so good. And other people might do really well on a raw vegan diet. And other people, that could destroy their gut and can make them feel depleted. And so Ayurveda really does a good job of looking at each person's body type and their constitution and imbalances, and catering stuff depending on the body type.
And when you say body type, is that something that you just ask the client, tell me about what happens when you eat this, when you eat that? Or is it astrology? Is it, how does that kind of get determined?
That is a good question. I do an intake with them. I look at the body shape. Like some people are naturally just tall and thin. And I'll give an example of Bill Nye the Science Guy. If you guys know who he is, he's
I
tall,
love him.
he's slender.
Yes.
I look at lips, eye shape, nose shape, palms, fingers, tongue. And then I also ask a lot of questions about internal processes like digestion and your thoughts and mental tendencies, mental and emotional tendencies.
Wow.
So
Wow.
only this
Okay.
guy,
Amazing.
he speaks very fast and he's highly creative.
Yeah.
And I'll bet he could eat as much as he wanted and never gain weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the
Okay.
moderate. I mean, there can be blends of these body types. There's another body type. I'll give Brad Pitt as an example. He's like a medium build, like he has more of a pinkish color to his skin, very symmetrical, kind of more round and square face, like angular face.
Yeah.
Moderate lips, moderate eyes, medium-sized nose. And then for the last body type, I like to use Oprah as an example. She just has this beautiful round body and full lips and big eyes. And she
Yeah.
just has this loving, compassionate, melodious voice.
Yeah.
Love. I
Wow.
love that you're looking all those things and taking all that into account.
Me too.
That's the full person. Wow. Okay, so then based on that, you're then kind of able to determine, okay, you kind of fall into this category. So then we will kind of work with these offerings of Ayurveda for you and test those out and go from there. Is that kind of the approach?
Yeah. So with the different body types, like the tall, slender type tends to they might run a little more cold, and they might have a higher metabolism, so they might metabolize things more quickly, versus the round body type might have a slower metabolism. And they have a heavier tendency, like if they eat a lot, they're going to gain weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be harder to lose weight unless you
Mm-hmm.
know how to do it. But in general, like if you have big bones, it's hard to lose that bone mass.
Right.
It's just part of their beautiful body type.
Love.
I always say to my friends, like, we can fully accept that there's greyhounds and then there's corgis and bulldogs. And why would, like,
I love
a
it.
bulldog would never be able to reach the body type of a greyhound without being on the edge of starvation. And then still, you're not going to change those bones.
Yeah.
Corgis are not going to look like greyhounds, but yet society, I feel like, is so much trying to push people to all look like the greyhound, slender, very thin, lean, but that's not everybody's body type. And we're so okay accepting that dogs, which are all the same species, technically, they can all mate with each other and have babies, can look so different, but then humans are all supposed to look the same? Like, no.
No, that's amazing. Two things I have to say to that. First of all, the vision for the future is a corgi greyhound baby. Just putting that out there.
Yeah,
Amazing, and I love
could you
it so
imagine?
much. I can't.
The booty on that dog.
Please, because that was my second point that I was going to make is I love a greyhound. I love the grace. The legs are amazing, but the butt of a corgi is like my happy place.
Right?
Just to watch those furry little booties walking around, I'm obsessed with them. Obsessed. Okay, sorry, that was a total tangent, but I just had to say.
I love
my
that
gosh.
analogy. I might have to borrow that.
Please
do. Yeah.
Yes. It's so gorgeous. I mean, Abby, I love that.
It's interesting what you said about the Bill Nyes. I have a very good friend. I was actually on the phone with her yesterday catching up, and she has always been tall and slender. Even during her pregnancies and after her pregnancies, she drops the weight very quickly, fits right back into her old jeans, and, very slender and always cold. And she recently has been having issues with being cold all the time. She has this thing called cold urticaria, where if she's in the cold, exposed to it, it's almost like an allergic reaction, where she starts getting hives and itching on her skin, and it can get kind of severe. So she has to be very careful around cold weather or getting into a really cold pool. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because she's always been that very slender body type.
So in Ayurveda, it's very simple the way that we view things. So I'm going to do a little exercise with you. So in Ayurveda, we balance opposites. So what is the opposite of cold?
Warm, hot,
What about dry?
moist,
Yeah. And cold? Oh, we said cold. Hot. Smooth.
rough.
Yeah. So those are there's like 20 different pairs that we look at. But if someone's cold, like in the wintertime, and again, this is so intuitive, in the wintertime, most people crave warm foods like soup.
Yeah.
And when it's the middle of summer and it's 100 degrees outside, do you want to add more heat to that, or do you want to balance it out with like some melons, something cool and juicy?
Right.
And in the wintertime, maybe some people do still crave ice cream, but you might not be craving as many salads and cucumbers, which are cooling
Absolutely.
in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
interesting, too, that those things don't grow during those times, right? Cucumber season is not in December.
No.
At least in our
Yeah.
part of the world, right? So that is, I think, a really interesting cue as well that nature is also sharing. Like, I love that you talk about the fall mini cleanse is root vegetables, because that's when root vegetables are starting to peak, and that's the offering that nature has for us. So I just love that intuitive connection as well. Like, look what your garden has to offer, and that's what's right for your body as well. Is so cool. And then ice cream, I guess that's just ubiquitous. We just have it whenever we want because it's delicious. That's
Wow.
awesome. Okay,
Fascinating.
wait. So then I really wanted to ask you, I know just the tiniest bit about this, but can you speak to like Pitta, Vata,
Yeah.
and then I forget the other ones? Those, can you explain those a bit to me?
Yeah. So those are called doshas in Ayurveda, and they can describe an aspect of everything from body types to the type of food we're eating to our environment. And if I start with the body types, the Vata body type is the tall, slender, skinny type.
The
They're the
Bill
kind
Nye.
of people who can usually eat a lot and maybe not gain weight, or if they do gain weight, they're able to drop it quickly. They also have, in the mind, they tend to be highly creative and artistic, and they might talk really fast. And if they're unbalanced, they might tend to have more anxiety, and they might be a little more spacey and have trouble focusing. And then the Pitta body type is that medium body type, like moderate size body, moderate size musculature, very balanced face, moderate size eyes and lips. And they can, again, gain weight, but they can also lose it quickly if they start to work out. And in the mind, they can be very focused and intense. And I like to use the analogy of a bull. Like, they set a goal and they go after it, and they can focus and get stuff done.
Yeah.
Unbalanced, they might be hypercritical and angry and irritable. There tends to be more heat in the pitta. So they might have more red skin as well and have tendencies for rashes and heartburn and things with heat. And then Kapha body type is the more round, like full lips, bigger eyes, thick hair,
Mhm.
beautiful moist skin. And they tend to be amazing singers as well. They have this beautiful voice or quality to their voice. And with the mind and mental and emotions, they tend to be more loving and compassionate. And they have very good memories, kind of like an elephant. Maybe they learn a little bit slower, but once they remember something, it sticks. And then when unbalanced, they tend to gain weight a little bit more and have a harder time losing weight. They can tend towards depression and holding on to things. Maybe it's holding on to possessions or holding a grudge. There's just like this stickiness and holding on quality.
Oh, I know which
Wow.
one I
And so,
am.
and which one do you think you are, if you want to
The
share?
Kappa? Is that it?
Kapha?
The last one. I'm the
Yeah.
last one. Oh, yeah. That's
You
me
are
for
a
sure.
blend, I would say, of a little bit of each. Maybe a little more Kapha. I see Pitta in you. And I also see some
it.
Vata.
I love it. Okay, that's amazing. That's how I like to eat too. I like a smorgasbord. I like a little bit of everything. That's cool. So then that's really curious though, because then if you can see those things, then like I would imagine there's different like approaches for each of these different types, right? So then if someone like me, if I've got a couple of these going on and I could be possibly varying between the more balanced, unbalanced within each of those, then like you're really going to have to kind of get to know me and use that intuition. And I'll have to use my intuition to really create an offering that meets all of those. Is that right? That's kind of what I feel when I'm hearing this.
So when I do an intake, I am able to look at the percentage. Like maybe you're 70% Kapha, 20% Pitta, 10% Vata. So we are born with a certain body type. Like your bone structure isn't going to change. Your nose and eyes and lips won't change. Some people have surgery to alter it, but a lot of things aren't going to change. Your tongue isn't going to change, which is something we look at. And then I look at the imbalances as well. And we usually treat the imbalance that's most out of balance. And then we'll start with that. And usually as you start to balance one, the others will kind of fall into place as well, which is just such a beautiful thing.
Wow. And I hear a lot like the term the opposite is the medicine, which I think comes from Ayurveda, like the more Eastern. I hear that on different, like this podcast that I listen to, and they're talking about it a little bit more, maybe in the mental health or the spiritual. Not to take us down that tangent, but for example, they'll say like if you're someone who's really scarcity mindset, always hoarding your money and holding on to it. And even though you have maybe $50,000 in the bank, you won't buy yourself a latte because you're just like, what if? The opposite being the medicine would be like, be generous, buy your friend a coffee, like let go a little bit. And that like, if you're the other way, if you're spend, and you can't save anything and you're just always spending everything, the opposite would be the medicine of like, have that 10% automatic thing go to a 401k or something. But that's, more on that like behavior side. What I'm hearing is that it goes all the way through your life, is that opposite, looking for the opposite to bring balance.
Yep. It can. And again, we're born with a certain body type. So the people that are more Kapha, that have like the thicker bones, the fuller lips, the thick hair, they're actually more likely to hold on to money. Where the Vata people that are tall and skinny, they have a tendency to maybe spend a little more and not save as much.
Well, that's where my Vata's coming in.
Think of metabolism, like a high metabolism, things are moving quickly. And maybe with Vata, the high metabolism, their money is moving a lot more quickly.
Yeah.
But again, these are tendencies. It's not like
not a rule. Right.
So then I, sorry, I feel like I have so many questions, but I just am eating this up. So then when you're, I know this is not prescriptive, right? Which we love. That's our goal with this space, is just to not do that. And I love that about holistic medicine. It's really a conversation. It's a back and forth. It's a play space. It's a intuitive space. But outside of the food, what are the other offerings that you are utilizing in your life, offering to your clients? Like, how broad does this get when you're looking at kind of creating an action plan or a lifestyle to help ease the suffering, ease the imbalances with the folks you work with?
Yeah, so diet is big, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. There are so many aspects. And I give people options. I say, this is what I'm seeing. Here's your imbalance. Here's a couple ways to treat it. What's one thing you want to start with? And something I recommend is the sleep schedule, which I find so many people do not have a sleep routine. Maybe they're brushing their teeth and putting their jammies on, washing their face, and then scrolling on the phone or doing something else. But to really make sleep sacred and take the time to learn how to do that can be powerful. Because when we sleep, that's when our body is restoring and repairing and resetting itself. And there's this thing in the brain called the glymphatic system. And during the day, as we're thinking and processing stuff, the byproducts of just being awake and processing our thoughts and stuff, there's byproducts that build up in the brain. And at night, when we can get enough sleep and enough deep sleep, it's like the cerebrospinal fluid channels open up and expand and start flushing the brain out.
Amazing.
And you can feel that when you get a good night's sleep and you can wake up and you're thinking clear, versus maybe if you pull an all-nighter or only get a couple hours of sleep, you can feel that sluggishness in the brain. You can feel all that stuff like interfered with
Absolutely.
clear thoughts and the ability to
Definitely.
focus. So
Oh,
sleep is a
Yeah.
huge thing. Calming
love.
the nervous system is another huge thing, especially in perimenopause, because as we come into perimenopause, all of our tissues start to thin out. Our skin thins out. Our hair can start to thin out. Our gut thins out. And the nervous system it can thin out and start to get depleted. We just can't handle stress as much. And so learning ways to calm it. Sleep is huge for repairing the nervous system. I used to
Yeah.
do a lot more intense yoga, and now I'm doing restorative yoga and yin yoga, where you kind of just lay on the mat and stretch.
Mm.
And that was hard when I first started doing that. Like, I knew I needed to do it because Ayurveda highly encouraged it. And I thought, oh, like, if I'm just going to lay there, like, that's going to do anything. I need to be up lifting weights and moving quickly and dancing around.
Right. Right.
And I still remember the first time I walked out of a yin yoga class, I was like, oh, I feel calm.
Mm.
What is this sensation? I was so
Mhm.
used to being go, 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 do more. And to lay there and breathe and stretch was healing and restorative on my nervous system.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. And it's interesting in our culture too, because especially as women, it's like if I'm going to do any sort of class, it has to be a class that's going to make me tone and thin and all those things that are like the highest aspirations for women in this culture. And I actually heard something recently, this woman talking about how she found her easiest path to weight loss postpartum and in perimenopause was through nervous system healing, not through pumping, it out in an HIIT class or HITT or what the hell ever, and just like, and I thought that was fascinating because obviously exercise is important, right? And all those things have a space, but I really loved this addition of bringing in the nervous system. Because I remember in my yoga teacher training, we would offer classes to practice. And my teacher was like, you're going to see, because he was from New York. And he was like, you're going to see, there's going to be women who come in and it's a certain type and they're in that energy and they come in and they do all the hard stuff and they leave before Shavasana. And they think, I'm just too busy. I got to keep going. I got to lose my weight. I got to go, 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 go. And he was like, they're missing the part that actually makes this benefit them the most. And I really watched that. And then I watched it in myself, and those moments of calm, the moments of quiet, the moments of integration, all the benefit would land. So I think that's fascinating in this culture. And I'm wondering what you think about that idea of the nervous system healing would offer weight loss to those who've gained weight in the time of pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause. How does that land with you?
I think the nervous system support is one of the biggest things that women can do, especially in perimenopause, actually any stage of life. The nervous system runs so much it's connected to everything. It controls our body. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going into psychiatric mental health, because once you can calm the mind, you can calm a lot of other things in the body.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of the gut is innervated, highly innervated.
Yep.
I could spend a whole nother episode just talking about gut health.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please.
I love that.
Yes.
We should.
Yeah.
Well, because don't we, with just Western medicine just kind of is making the connection that like, oh, our brain and our gut are connected, right? This thing that felt like it was almost kind of secondary turns out is highly connected to what we consider the most important driver of our beings. And it just shows you there is no kind of hierarchy there. The body is a whole system. And if one part isn't working, you made the car analogy earlier. It's like, you can't drive a car without the brakes, even if everything else in the car is pristine. And that I think is really important. Like, if the gut doesn't work, then your brain is going to be affected, the way you think, the way you act, the way you perceive things.
Yeah, absolutely. We just moved to Portland and the food scene here is incredible and we're vegan, so it's got like the most vegan options ever. So yeah, we went to this like all vegan place and we got a large pizza and 2 beers and had that at like 9 p.m. And then you wake up the next day and brain fog, not word finding, just so sluggish. And just thinking about what you were saying with the ventricles and the brain and the cerebral spinal fluid, like if you eat really late before bedtime, all of your blood and everything is like, I'm assuming just from what I know about medicine, it's in your gut. And it's trying to break things down and it's not able to actually rest. Like you're keeping your body awake and alert in a way, even if you're sleeping, like another part of your body is really busy trying to break down all this pizza and beer. So like just how important sleep is, kind of what you were just saying about that when it comes to sleep, and not just the sleep, but like the preparing for sleep. Like when do you stop eating and what you had for breakfast that morning? Like someone once told me, when you're thinking about getting better sleep, think about what you're having for breakfast and lunch and dinner and like how much alcohol are you consuming and are you getting energy out sufficiently during the day so that your body feels tired. Like getting good sleep doesn't just happen when you hit the pillow. It's like your whole lifestyle.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the realization that when you eat late, you've noticed you don't sleep as well. So Ayurveda has been teaching this for thousands of years, and I've actually found quite a bit of research to back this up. But if you stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed, your body has time to properly digest. The stomach is so intensive with digesting and processing food, and it can take 2 to 3 hours before it moves on. But during that time, we have a lot of hormones coming online, and it's like, we got to digest this food. And your melatonin might not be come online as strongly when your body's busy digesting. So I like to say 3 hours before you go to bed, which ideally would be around 7, eating your last meal around 7, hopefully going to bed lights out around 10. And then 2 hours before, and this is something just to play around with, but 2 hours, maybe stop drinking fluids. If you need to take some nighttime medications or supplements, have it at least 2 hours before bed, just so you can hopefully get up and pee before you go to bed. And then 1 hour before bed, and this is the hardest for me, the turn off screens, turn off your phone, put it away, and don't have the blue lights that are suppressing the melatonin. And it's especially important during perimenopause because everything is more sensitive. During perimenopause, if you're up late looking at screens, it's going to suppress your melatonin, and your cortisol naturally starts to rise around 3 a.m. to wake us up. And there's like this balance. So when melatonin's high, cortisol is going to slowly come up, but the melatonin's going to keep it down until we're ready to wake up. But if we've been up late and the melatonin never had a chance to like peak because we've been on our phone, and by the way, it usually peaks around midnight. But if we're on our phone, it's keeping that melatonin suppressed. And then cortisol might come on more strongly and wake us up. And then it's going to remain slightly elevated during the day. And we can feel that.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Like if I stay up too late, because historically my family are night owls. So I think there's a little bit of nurture there for me of like, but I can feel, I'll start to get sleepy around 9. And if I push past it around 11:30, I'm like, now I'm awake. Now I'm awake and I want to get stuff done and I have a lot of energy. But I think like, I've pushed away the melatonin. Trying to like get me to go to sleep, and now I'm like I've just shifted over into like some cortisol starting to come online, and then it can be really hard to go to sleep.
Yeah. And Ayurveda, there's a whole Ayurvedic perspective behind that too. If you're staying up a little too late, you can get that second wind. You can either go deep into a restorative sleep, or if you're awake, you might get your second wind and you're not going to get that deep sleep.
Yeah.
when we need our sleep, that's when we do the deep healing and repairing and restoring of the body and the hormones and the mind. And
Wow.
oh my God.
Interesting. So how do you feel then about, I won't take like a melatonin supplement if I'm having trouble falling asleep, or like my child. I know a lot of folks who give it to their kids, right? Because it's just so much easier if your kid will just go the F to sleep, right? I mean, that's just like such a battle. Yet it feels like all these things feel like, because if people are like, oh, your body produces it naturally. But what you're talking about is such a great reminder. If the body produces it naturally as part of a cycle with other components that it produces naturally that are kind of keeping us in our cycles, right? So then if we're just artificially offering that at like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. to our kids, that's probably throwing off that cycle, or does that not matter as much?
So a big part of Ayurveda is routine. Like I said, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. And you're probably aware that if you set an alarm, like let's say you wake up at 6:30 every day, eventually your body kind of trains to just wake up at that time. And I know so many people that will wake up like at 6:29, a minute before the alarm goes off,
Right.
because their body's trained. And you can do that with bedtime too. Like I have an alarm on my phone that goes off at 8:30 that says, get ready for bed. And that's when I wash my face, brush my teeth. I turn off all the overhead lights, and then I turn on just a few lamps that have the yellow incandescent bulbs. And the yellow incandescent bulbs, they don't flicker like LED bulbs do. And they're the color of the sunset. And there's a reason why the sunset has those amber colors. It's actually more conducive to allowing melatonin to come on. And then I usually give myself just a quick light body massage. I'll rub my feet with a little oil. I have this routine. And my body, once I start doing it, my body knows, oh, it's time to slow down and get ready for bed.
Oh,
And I sleep
love
so
that.
much better when I can do my routine and
Right,
start
and then
at a decent time.
yes, and then that there's less of a need for any sort of artificial intervention, right? It's just that you're cueing all the things, so then your body is just producing those things normally.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. Hey, Abby, you're muted, sweetie.
Sorry, there was a crow that was like, ah, ah,
I
right
heard it. I love it.
We have a lot of crows out here.
The birds will speak.
The birds are like, I have something to say about melatonin. But what was I going to say? Oh, just for kids. I mean, I don't have kids, but that kind of a routine as a family of like, okay, even if your kids don't know what you're doing and you never explain it, like at 8:30, all the big lights turn off and the little lamps come on, and 9:30, you give them a little foot rub and, do that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, I'm feeling really sleepy. And the whole time you're going, oh, I know you are. Yeah, this isn't by accident.
I love it. I love the routine. I think that, kids are such a great example of that, but it's so important. For all of us, right? Our bodies, just historically, evolutionarily, that's how we've always been. Just you have these cycles and you have these things that cue to you the next thing. And it's amazing to reflect on how those external kind of routines in our life, how they're actually cueing and interacting with the internal functions and helping kind of keep that as optimal as we can be. That's awesome. All right. So then as we get toward the end here, I need to ask you about perimenopause. Because
yes, I have questions
this
about
is
that
just, well, and okay, like I think menopause growing up, you think of a woman in her 60s and she looks old, she feels old, she complains, she sweats during the night, she's uncomfortable. And then now, being at this middle time of life, like I'm in my early 40s, Abby's in her 30s, like we're starting, even Western medicine is starting to say, oh, actually, it turns out it starts a lot earlier. And even women in their 30s could be kind of moving into this space, and that there's so much we can do to participate and to engage with this time of our life that actually could make your menopause story completely different than that, kind of suffering old woman that I was in my mind growing up, right? And so I'm just so curious how you got drawn to that and how you work with that and what your experience is with that.
Yeah, so I think I was 3 years into my Ayurveda studies when we started learning about this midlife transition. And I happened to be going through a lot of it. I would say just a few months before we got to that section, I was having night sweats, I was having insomnia, brain fog, my hair was falling out, my cycles were highly irregular and just scattered. I don't even know how to describe it. And I thought I was going crazy. I was like, what is going on with my body? Like, I didn't know about perimenopause. And this was about 8 years ago. Nobody was talking about it. I saw 5 different doctors. I was like, I wonder if my hormones are out of balance. I went to an endocrinologist.
My thyroid.
Yeah, I went to an endocrinologist. He's like, you look fine. Your thyroid's just slightly low. I went to my gynecologist. She's like, you look fine to me. I went to my primary care doctor and she's like, you look fine to me. I'm like, but I don't feel good. I went to a psychiatrist who said, I'll just give you this antidepressant and you'll forget about everything.
God.
Then I started learning about this in Ayurveda, that there's this transition that women go through in midlife. And I started listing out the symptoms and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. And a lot of it has to do with the nervous system and calming the nervous system down. And we learned a little bit about trauma. And anyone who's had early life trauma, there's this thing called the ACE score, which is adverse childhood experiences. It's 10 questions. And it asks you about your early childhood experiences. And for women who answer yes to like 3 to 4 or more, tend to have a lot more symptoms. And I think my score is like 5. Which is high. So when you have trauma that you haven't addressed, it's like the nervous system, it's kind of the equivalent of holding a big beach ball underwater. It takes a lot of energy. And that's kind of what our nervous system is doing when we don't address stress and trauma. And then when perimenopause comes and the nervous system's naturally depleting, it's like, I can't hold this down anymore. It's coming out.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
through symptoms in the body.
Wow.
That is an incredible analogy. Because when I'm 24, you can hold that beach bottle down,
Totally.
But as you get older, your muscles, your nervous system, your being just is like, I can't hold this in anymore.
That's wild.
And just knowing that in Ayurveda, as we come into this last phase of life, we start to see things dry out. Like the skin's going to dry out. The gut's going to dry out. We're going to have more chapped lips and maybe dry eyes. And we might feel more cold. We just can't, our metabolism slows down. Our bones thin out. The skin thins out. And there's ways to balance that out Ayurvedically, like adding more moisturizer. I like sesame oil with a few essential oils in it, like the rose oil and lavender oil. I rub that on my skin to keep it moist. I eat a lot more healthy fats like avocados and ghee and some seeds and nuts. And I add more warm foods, so I stay warm. I cook a lot of my foods. And I avoid cold and raw foods because those are going to aggravate the cold qualities in my body. And I avoid chips and dry foods like beef jerky, dried fruit, chips, crackers. All of that's going to add more of the dry element to the body. And we want to avoid that, or at least minimize those foods. Don't need to completely avoid them.
Interesting.
Holy cow. Okay, so Britt, we're going to end here and for our members, we're going to keep talking a little bit because I have probably 100 more questions.
I have so many questions too.
I can't. Oh my gosh. So we're going to stop here and thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom. I'm super excited about our workshop And in the show notes and in everything we release on Substack and all of that will be ways that people can connect with you if they want to work with you. Everyone that I've told about you coming on the podcast is like, wait, what? I have to know about this. I want to try this. So we're going to put all of that out there for our listeners. And I just want to thank you because I feel like I'm walking away from this just that much more informed and connected. And that just feels to me, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yes. Thank you for coming, Britt. And yeah, like Chelsea said, everything will be in the show notes if people want to work with you. I do just have one question about that. Do you take clients virtually?
I do.
You can do the whole assessment, looking at the tongue, looking at the face and the body type all virtually and make those assessments.
Yep.
So you can, if you're anywhere, you can work with Britt and start to use ancient medicine.
Yes. Thank
Love
you,
it.
ladies. This was
Thank you
wonderful.
so much. Oh, we're so
Wonderful.
grateful. Okay,
If you are
well,
not a Modern Sacred member, come become a member and we will continue the conversation. I have questions about periods and I have questions
Absolutely.
about so many more things. So come and continue the conversation with us.
Thank you for coming today, Britt, and thank you for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. We're so glad you came.
If you'd like to learn more about Modern Sacred, our offerings, book clubs, and women's events, you can go to modernsacred.com or follow us on Substack.
We were so happy you were here with us.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening.